Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the star of our show, Terry.
In New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of, there's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York. I apologize for my singing, but I had to start with that because when it comes to music that captures the soul of New York City, nobody does it like Alicia Keys. And guess what? She is my absolute favorite artist to come out of NYC. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Music and Me. I am your host, Terry, and today's episode is extra special because, as you know, I'm getting ready for my big trip to New York City in just 1 week. And what better way to celebrate than by honoring one of New York City's brightest stars, Alicia Keys? She's a singer, a songwriter, pianist, and now a Broadway composer. But more than anything, she's a true New Yorker. From her early days growing up in Hell's Kitchen to topping the charts with hits like Fallin' and Empire State of Mind, Alicia has always carried the energy and spirit of NYC in her music. And now she's bringing it all full circle with her new Broadway musical, Hell's Kitchen, inspired by her own life. So today we're taking a journey through her incredible career, how she made it, how New York shaped her, and how she's now bringing her own story to the stage. Get ready, because this episode is all about Alicia Keys and the city that made her. So let's dive in. Alicia Keys isn't just a singer. She's a storyteller, a visionary, and an artist in every sense of the word. She burst onto the scene with her signature braids and undeniable voice, and a way of playing the piano that made classical music sound cool. From the moment she dropped Songs in A Minor in 2001, she proved that she was more than just a rising star. She was here to stay. But Alicia's talent goes way beyond the mic. She's a songwriter, a producer, a pianist, and now she's taking over Broadway as a composer. Her new musical, Hell's Kitchen, is a love letter to the city that raised her, the struggles that shaped her, and the music that made her who she is today. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. We'll be taking a trip through her incredible journey, how a girl from Hell's Kitchen became a global superstar, how New York's vibrant culture influenced her sound, and how she's now bringing her own story to Broadway. Before she was winning Grammys, before she was performing on massive stages, Alicia Keys was just a girl growing up in one of Manhattan's most infamous neighborhoods, Hell's Kitchen. Born in 1981, she was raised by her mother, Taraya Joseph, a single mom and actress who worked tirelessly to support her daughter. Money was tight, but Alicia was surrounded by the real New York, gritty, diverse, fast-paced, and full of music. Hell's Kitchen wasn't the glitzy NYC that tourists see. It was raw, tough, and filled with both challenges and inspiration. It was a place where street performers played saxophones on the sidewalks, where hip-hop blasted from car stereos, and where Broadway lights flickered just a few blocks away. It was in this environment that Alicia found her passion. At just 7 years old, Alicia sat down at a piano for the first time, and it was love at first note. But she didn't just tinker around. She dove deep into classical training, studying the works of Beethoven, Mozart, and Chopin. Like a total prodigy. She attended the Professional Performing Arts School, where she honed her craft and was exposed to even more music, R&B, jazz, soul, and hip-hop. But New York wasn't just her home. It was her inspiration. The city's energy, the people, the struggles, the beauty, all found its way into her music. You can hear it in songs like Empire State of Mind, where she sings about the dreams and possibilities that NYC holds, or in Streets of New York, where she paints a picture of the city's highs and lows. Growing up in Hell's Kitchen gave Alicia Keys an edge, a mix of classical elegance and streetwise grit, of Broadway dreams and real-life struggles. And that combination, that's what made her music different, timeless, and powerful. And now, years later, she's bringing it all back to where it started, with Hell's Kitchen, her Broadway musical inspired by her own journey. But before we get into that, let's talk about how she went from a piano-playing prodigy in NYC to a worldwide sensation. Because Alicia Keys didn't just rise to fame, she earned it. By the time Alicia Keys was a teenager, it was clear that she was something special. She wasn't just another kid playing piano. She was composing, writing, and pouring her heart into her music in a way that felt beyond her years. It was only a matter of time before the industry came calling. At just 15 years old, Alicia signed with Columbia Records. Sounds like a dream come true, right? Well, not exactly. Columbia didn't seem to know what to do with her. Here was this insanely talented pianist and singer, blending classical influences with hip-hop and R&B, something totally unique. But instead of embracing her vision, they tried to mold her into something more marketable. They wanted to control her sound, her image, and Alicia? She wasn't about that. After a frustrating few years of trying to fit into Columbia's box, Alicia knew she had to make a change. Enter Clive Davis, the legendary music executive who already discovered icons like Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin. Clive saw Alicia's potential immediately and signed her to his new label, J Records. Unlike Columbia, he didn't try to change her. He let her be her. He gave her creative freedom, and Alicia ran with it. In 2001, everything changed. Alicia released her debut album, Songs in A Minor, and the world wasn't ready. This wasn't just an R&B album. It was a fusion of classical piano, soul, hip-hop beats, and raw, heartfelt lyrics. The album felt fresh, different, and authentic. It was Alicia through and through. And then came Fallin'. That song, instant classic. From the first notes of Alicia's haunting piano melody, you felt it. Then her voice came in, soulful, rich, packed with emotion. The way she sang about love's ups and downs, everyone could relate. It was raw, it was real, and it didn't sound like anything else on the radio at the time. Fallin' skyrocketed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, won 3 Grammy Awards, and solidified Alicia as the real deal. The world was introduced to a new kind of artist, one who wasn't just about catchy hooks, but about real music. And the best part? This was just the beginning. With Songs in A Minor, Alicia didn't just break into the industry, she kicked the door wide open. She proved that a young woman playing classical piano could dominate the charts, that authenticity and talent still mattered, and that she was here to stay. Next up, even bigger albums, more hit songs, and eventually a Broadway musical that brings everything full circle. But before we get to that, let's talk about how Alicia kept pushing the boundaries of music and became one of the biggest artists of her generation. If Songs in A Minor was Alicia's grand entrance into the music world, her next albums were proof that she wasn't just a one-hit wonder. She was a force. With every album, every song, every performance, she kept growing, evolving, and solidifying herself as one of the greatest artists of her generation. After the massive success of her debut, Alicia had something to prove, and she delivered with her sophomore album, The Diary of Alicia Keys, in 2003. If you thought Fallin' was powerful, just wait until you heard If I Ain't Got You. That song became the heartbreak anthem of the early 2000s. The soulful piano, the raw emotion in her voice was classic Alicia, and it cemented her as an artist who felt every word she sang. And let's not forget You Don't Know My Name, a song so smooth and cinematic that it felt like an old-school R&B love story, complete with a spoken word interlude. Alicia had this magic ability to make songs feel like moments in your own life, and fans couldn't get enough. By the time As I Am in 2007 dropped, Alicia was no longer just a musician, she was a superstar. And she had another career-defining hit, No One. That song was everywhere, blasting from radios, playing at weddings, dominating award shows. It had that perfect mix of soul, pop, and R&B that made Alicia's music timeless. I love that song. That's one of my favorite Alicia Keys songs, besides Empire State of Mind, of course. But Alicia wasn't just singing about love anymore. Her lyrics were getting deeper, more personal, and more socially aware. By the time she released Girl on Fire in 2012, she was owning her place in the industry. The title track was an anthem, not just for women, but for anyone fighting to make their mark. Powerful vocals? Check. Signature piano? Check. Lyrics that inspired? Double check. And then came the song that made everyone want to move to New York, including me. When Alicia teamed up with Jay-Z in 2009 for Empire State of Mind, they created the definitive anthem for NYC. From the first piano chords, you could feel the energy of the city, the hustle, the dreams, the grit. Alicia's soaring chorus, Concrete Jungle, where dreams are made of, there's nothing you can't do, that was more than just lyrics. It was a love letter to the city that made her who she is. Whether you were from New York or had never set foot there, this song made you feel like you belonged. And let's be real, who hasn't belted out this song while walking through Times Square, imagining they were the main character in a movie? I know I have, and I will be blasting this song while I'm in New York, because it's just fitting. With each album, Alicia kept proving that she wasn't just a singer. She was a storyteller, a pioneer, and a true New York icon. And now she's bringing it all back home in the most full circle way possible by turning her story into a Broadway musical. So next, we're going to be talking about Hell's Kitchen and how Alicia is bringing her journey to the stage and why this show is so much more than just another jukebox musical. But first, here's my interesting fact of the week. Welcome to my interesting fact of the week segment. Since we're celebrating the incredible Alicia Keys, I thought I would share some fun and surprising facts about her that you might not know. Did you know that Alicia was a total overachiever even before she became a music superstar? She graduated high school at just 16 years old as valedictorian and even got accepted to Columbia University before choosing music instead. And speaking of starting young, she actually wrote her first song, Butterflies, when she was 12 years old, and it made it onto her debut album. Now here's a wild one. Alicia was almost in a girl group, kind of like Destiny's Child. But luckily for us, she went solo and gave us some of the most soulful music of our time. She also dabbed in acting, appearing in movies like Smokin' Aces and even on The Cosby Show when she was just 4 years old. And if you ever wondered how deep her love for the piano goes, she owns a collection of rare and vintage pianos, including one that once belonged to jazz legend Duke Ellington. Talk about musical history. But she's not just a music icon. She's also a New York Times bestselling author, a 2-time Grammy Awards host, and the first woman in 14 years to take on that role. Oh, and let's not forget that legendary moment when she played 2 pianos at once on live TV. Alicia Keys truly does it all, from music to books to Broadway, and of course, representing NYC like no one else can. And that's my interesting fact of the week. Now back to the episode. Welcome back, everyone. If there was ever a full circle moment in Alicia Keys' career, this is it. She started as a girl growing up in Hell's Kitchen, writing songs on her piano, dreaming of something bigger. And now, her journey has become a Broadway musical called Hell's Kitchen. But this isn't just a jukebox musical slapping her greatest hits into a storyline. Nope. This is a deeply personal coming-of-age story inspired by Alicia's own experiences growing up in New York City. It's about a young girl, Allie, discovering herself, her passion, and her voice in the middle of the chaotic, beautiful, electric city that is NYC. In Hell's Kitchen, Allie is a 17-year-old girl living in a tiny apartment with her mother, feeling trapped and dreaming of more. Sound familiar? The show captures that feeling of being young in NYC, the hustle, the energy, the desire to break free and make something of yourself. And of course, the music is a huge part of that journey. The show blends some of Alicia's biggest bangers with brand new original songs. Imagine hearing If I Ain't Got You or Fallen in the middle of a Broadway theater with a fresh new take that makes you fall in love with them all over again. Now that's a moment. But what makes Hell's Kitchen so special is that it's not just a concert. The music is woven into the story, fueling Allie's journey and making it personal. Each song feels like a reflection of her struggles, dreams, and triumphs, just like Alicia's music has been the soundtrack for so many of our lives. And let's talk about the real star of the musical, New York City itself. This isn't just a show set in NYC. New York City is the pulse of the entire story. The crowded streets, the subway rides, the late night dreams of making it big, it's all there. The city is loud, messy, alive, and completely unforgettable. Just like Alicia, just like her music, and just like the show. And honestly, what better way to honor her love for NYC than bringing her story to Broadway? It's where dreams come to life, and Alicia Keys is living proof that if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So, whether you've been a fan since Songs in A minor, or you just know that you can't resist belting Empire State of Mind every time it plays, Hell's Kitchen is a musical that feels like home. And for Alicia, that home will always be New York. Let's switch gears now a little bit. Alicia Keys isn't just a musician, she is a movement. From the moment she stepped onto the scene with her braids, her piano, and that unmistakable voice, she didn't just change R&B and soul music, she redefined it. But her legacy? It goes way beyond the music charts. Alicia showed the world that you don't have to fit into a mold to make it big. She's always been about authenticity, from her stripped-down classic piano-infused sound to her no-makeup movement that challenged industry beauty standards. She carved out a space for herself on her own terms, proving that artistry isn't about selling out, it's about staying true to yourself. And future artists took notes. From her to SZA to Jasmine Sullivan, so many of today's R&B queens carry that same fearless energy that Alicia brought to the game. She made it cool to be a powerhouse musician, to be vulnerable, to tell real stories through music. But Alicia's influence isn't just about the music, it's about the message. She's always used her platform for something bigger, from advocating for women's rights to fighting against racial injustice. Whether she's launching initiatives like She Is the Music to support women in the industry or speaking out on major social issues, she's not just singing about change, she's leading it. And let's be real. How many artists today can truly say they balance Grammy-winning music with activism and philanthropy, while still being a New York City legend? Not many. And that brings us right back to Hell's Kitchen. Alicia has always repped New York City, whether it was in her lyrics, her energy, or her entire vibe. And bringing her story to Broadway, that's like taking it to a whole new level. This isn't just another career milestone, it's a way of giving back to the city that raised her. With Hell's Kitchen, Alicia is passing the torch to the next generation. She's showing young dreamers, especially young Black girls, that their stories matter, that their voices deserve to be heard, and that even if you start with nothing but a piano and a dream, you can make it big without ever forgetting where you came from. Alicia Keys is a legend, a powerhouse, a true New Yorker. And whether she's topping the charts, inspiring the next generation, or lighting up Broadway, her legacy is one that will never fade. From a piano-playing prodigy in Hell's Kitchen to a global icon lighting up Broadway, Alicia Keys has always been New York City to the core. Her music sounds like the city, bold, soulful, and full of life. Whether she's belting out Empire State of Mind, pouring her heart into a ballad, or telling her story on the Broadway stage, Alicia embodies everything that makes NYC unforgettable. If you haven't yet, go listen to her albums and check out Hell's Kitchen if you get the chance. And the next time you hear Empire State of Mind, turn it up, because Alicia didn't just write an anthem, she wrote a love letter to the greatest city in the world. And speaking of NYC, I have some very exciting news. Next week, I will actually be in New York City. And to celebrate, I have a special episode planned. I'll be sharing my own personal NYC playlist packed with all my favorite songs about my favorite city. So whether you're a fellow NYC lover or just want to feel the big city magic, you won't want to miss it. Until then, keep the music playing, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody. This has been the Music in Me podcast. Subscribe now so you don't miss a beat.